Hello and welcome back. We're here with a new match and a new face. I'm still K-Wing here with Time to Light. Hey, Time to Light, we're here with a pretty exciting match of Overwatch here for you guys.
Yeah, two very contrasting teams from last week. Both of them played on stream, both of them involved in 3-0s, but not both of them winning. Eli Whitney, of course, coming out with an unfortunate start against Huntington High School and losing 3-0, whereas on the other side, West Mifflin was able to 3-0 Lake Wales and walk away with a pretty clean victory just last week.
Absolutely, and both these teams looking to continue that streak or to turn their fortunes around, but both of them have very different wants, very different needs. As we look in, both of them at that exact same standing there at second and third, the exact same map differential as well. Whoever wins this is guaranteed second place, and well, the loser is going to be thrown right into that wolf pack of 4th through 6th with multiple teams.
And going up against the Sheehan Titans as well as that top team, you're going to want to try and encroach upon them a little bit quicker. A new week means a new map pool, so we'll take a look at our maps for today. These are the maps that will be played. It's not loser pick. This is the same as our first series, same as our last series, and well, the same here. We do get to see Circuit Royale. Super fond of it, and Antarctic Peninsula, assuming, of course, we hit maps 4 or 5. The guaranteed maps in order are Ilios, Kings Row, and Caliseo between Control, Hybrid, and Push, respectively.
Yeah, and we saw in our first map in the dominant 3-0 that we had to start off the day, we saw some variation in terms of the compositions that came out on Ilios, on Kings Row, and on Caliseo. You saw some really good, some dive, some rush, especially on Kings Row. You saw the Reinhardts, who, Reinhardt's kind of come a bit back into the, I don't want to call it a meta, but definitely around the EGFH teams. Definitely come into the spotlight.
I'm always a fan of seeing the more standard of what used to be old compositions. Of course, Reinhardt being the number one, but of course no second tank means no diva to go along with it. Any expectations into Ilios? Of course, fairly often played control map, whether it's in set map pools or selected map pools, either way. Do you see any obvious favorites other than the fact that West Mifflin is coming into this off a victory?
I think the obvious... You have sort of the Ruins map composition of, it's pretty usually a rush composition, but the other two sub-maps, Lighthouse and Well, they're a bit of wild cards. And as we start off on Lighthouse, we already see exactly what that means with a ball composition for West Mifflin for the Titans and the Owls varsity team pulling out the Pharmacy dive comp.
I'm always a fan of the pharmacy combo, especially when you can get as close as you can, but the problem is, with a soldier on the other side, maybe a little bit more difficult to keep that sustain in thin air, while Jeden instead just decides to switch over to the Sombra, so moot point maybe, depends on how that'll influence the Pharah play.
It might, and you already see that dive coming out from Tsunami, and that first pick.
Already the opener. There is a return. Hibuto is taken care of. Almost a follow-up onto Wavy Patty, who does still have that Mercy boost. The Mercy actually was hacked in that engagement, but both are still healthy for the time being. It is Overwatch gun available, and there's the finish onto Jade Moon. The Mercy taken care of. That flanking Sombra a little bit more difficult than I think Eli Whitney foresaw.
Yeah, the trades are good for both these teams, but when you're talking about losing your tank, especially in Overwatch 2, that tank is your linchpin even more so now. And losing Tsunami as early on as you did for Eli Whitney is just rough.
Oh, and a 2-for-0 trade already. That should be the fight. That should be West Mifflin backing up. The problem is, if they back up, they back into the flank setup from this West Mifflin side. Already a very good start, and a hacked Pharah means a dead Pharah. Jadden with the environmental kill, and West Mifflin walk away with another fight.
You love to see the hacked Pharah just falling like a stone, thinking they're able to get away and just not couldn't find it. Now you're coming into almost coming into an old fight. You have the EMP coming up soon, the minefield. West Mifflin are a bit better in the ult composition, and good headshots already. Wow, Space Jesus, okay.
But Tsunami's, again, first one to fall. Even though it's a 2-for-1 trade, now traded back even, that resurrection on Tsunami may keep this a little bit better for Eli Whitney. The Mercy paying off in spades. The problem is, again hunted down, a double from Overwatch gun. The point will be flipped, but a fairly inconsequential point flip to understate the obvious. Tsunami's gonna go jump off a bridge, or jump off the side of the cliff, and we'll try and reset for Eli Whitney.
Oh, that was funny, but you're looking at a really good fight from West Mifflin. They have everything that they could want here in terms of the old composition. They've got the EMP, they've got the minefield, they've got a dead Tracer.
They actually hacked off the Sombra, though, so they couldn't get the EMP off when they wanted to. Wavy Patty still finds an opener. There's the missile barrage from up above. Tsunami follows up onto Space Jesus. This should be a fight victory for Eli Whitney. But look, Jade Moon taken care of. An EMP comes through. It will land, but not to as much effect as they thought. They still haven't captured on this Eli Whitney side, even though they've been superior on trades thus far. Wavy Patty on a sliver of health, a well-placed breeze, or shot from the akimbo pistols will take him out. A hack onto Tsunami. Overtime ticks away, and West Mifflin, even after losing 3 straight players, will take Lighthouse here on Ilios.
That was an interesting fight, to say the least. I mean, you're looking at what should have been, for Eli Whitney, you're looking at what just should have been... That should have been more than the fight win. That should have been the cleanup there. But good on West Mifflin for keeping their heads about them. Now as you come in too well, you see a bit more creativity potential here. Tsunami over on the Diva, which could be a good choice there. I also like the Reaper Cassidy DPS composition to try and get some burst damage, especially the Junkrat as well, to get some burst damage in onto the Wrecking Ball when they try to dive in, onto the Sombra when they try to dive in. This is a really flank heavy comp, so I like this DPS composition from Eli Whitney. This could be what they need to turn it around.
Also diverse, which is really what they need. That long range damage versus short range efficacy, that could work in their favor, and early on it does. Wavy Patty hits an opening headshot, a follow-up body shot onto Mr. Eerie, and just like that, you have at least 1 kill going their way. West Mifflin down a support, their primary support at this point, but look at how well West Mifflin is setting the tone. They're just spacing themselves out enough to where losing that Brigida right off the bat doesn't influence their fight all that much, and they're still winning. They take down Space Jesus. Overwatch gun is on just a quarter of health, and they cannot seem to get a foothold on this West Mifflin side.
That's really good for Eli Whitney taking that point, and like you said, just they can't seem to get anything going. Mr. Eerie getting stunned out, but ooh, it's Vemby going down first.
Mark the Pot almost getting taken out as well. Luckily, as the recall is able to turn it into an elimination, trying to push forward as well, drop down Hubuto if at all possible. This should be a much better fight for West Mifflin. The problem is they're taking so much time because they don't have all the damage put through. Pulse Bomb's available, Swift Step to get Hubuto out, but it does not happen. And West Mifflin again come out on top of a fight, this time switching after 33%.
There you go. And for Eli Whitney, that was a really difficult fight to deal with as you're coming in. Really interesting sort of timings of these fights, as they seem to be ending and starting right as they are, just one right after the other.
it's the difference of staggers as well here for Eli Whitney. Mines used by Overwatch gun towards spawn. They'll try and take down a baby diva, of whom gets her mech back. So by no means is this fight over. Pulse bomb goes through, it just barely misses Wavy Patty, who's alive for the time being, but still can't get out safely. Luckily, that health steal will work out in their favor, and a self-destruct over the top will take down Overwatch gun. That should be the fight victory. The question is, how long does it take them to cap the point? The answer for you, very little time. Overall, healthy fight for Eli Whitney, only one ultimate required.
Yeah, and usually you think of good diva bombs as being the ones that, get eight kills and just absolutely demolish the enemy team, but getting the pick on that enemy tank, like we've been talking about, is worth it in its own way, as already that pick coming in onto Wavy Patty is going to be pretty difficult for Eli Whitney to hold.
Tanks and hit scan DPSs are seemingly the VIPs to try and drop down. Tsunami's hacked, but they're still alive, and they have some support from Haibudo up on top. Jaden's still on this side, will take down the bear trap and look to take down Bemby as well. It's actually a double from Mark the Pot, and they're trying to keep themselves in this. Kitsune Rush deciding to be used. Tsunami is demeched and does not have their mech for a little bit of time. They'll actually just be bursted down courtesy of Mark the Pot and Jaden themselves, and just like that, West Mifflin cap right back.
That was a bit of a late use of the Kitsune Rush by Haibudo. They probably are going to want that back. It's such a good offensive ultimate, and especially when you're coming into the ult bank that West Mifflin has. They've got all 5 ultimates online and just waiting, and you don't have a defensive ultimate besides maybe the rally. You probably want to rally early if you're Eli Whitney at this point, and there you get the early rally from Mr. Eerie.
Oh, but look at the mines. Mark the Pot dropping in the pulse bomb, and then Overwatch gun actually getting a grapple propulsion kill. A free fight here, and we're reaching final fight territory. Here's West Mifflin versus 80%.
They do get that 80% fair. Good on Eli Whitney for tracking those ultimates and knowing that they should not try and use any, that they should go into this with a dry fight, because now they do have the ultimate advantage. There's the bomb from Tsunami. Not going to find many picks, though.
Oh, and Transcendence now use, and already a D-Mech Tsunami. Drop in, there's that Death Blossom. It finds 2. The support line has been taken care of. It's 2 supports and a DPS versus just a lack of supports for West Mifflin. They're still staying in this fight, though, keeping a healthy distance while still being able to do damage. The problem is the sustain here for Eli Whitney is good enough to keep them in a fight long-term, even with limited damage output. Jade Moon pressured, Tsunami barely staying above that well. The EMP being used, however, is so much damage done. A cleanse with that Suzu to keep Eli Whitney alive, and most importantly, included in this fight. Overwatch gun's mines go through just the same. Jade Moon, however, pressed back into the back line. They should be taken out, and they are.
Really good stuff already there as you're looking at the Kitsune Rush. That is so good from Overwatch gun. Just the minefield, the dominance, and just cutting off so much space. It allows West Mifflin.
Perfect to close out well, and surprisingly enough, they actually stay in that fight, even with enough damage output. When you're playing up against 2 support heroes, such as what Eli Whitney had on the board, it's so difficult to finish off your targets, so instead, they just continue to do damage, keep their space, and make sure that their own supports were able to get back into the fight before fully re-engaging, and that healthy measuring of how much damage you try and do is exactly what wins them well, and ultimately wins them Ilios.
Couldn't agree with you more, as that's some good game knowledge, rather than seeing a few picks come through and saying, oh, it's done. Knowing exactly when a fight is lost and a fight is won for West Mifflin, able to keep themselves alive, keep that sustain, and knowing that you have the advantage in that matchup with having both your supports versus that really clutch Death Blossom you saw there that took out both supports. It was a bit dicey there, but West Mifflin taking that first map.
Yeah, speaking of maps, let's take a look at our second. We're heading to King's Row, and that measurement of aggression there for West Mifflin is going to bode very well for them as we move into King's Row. Of course, Streets phase so difficult to keep consistent sustain on that defensive side. The attacking side on the complete opposite side of that coin, it's difficult to make sure you can consistently keep ultimates on the board while also winning fights, depending on where you're trying to take them, especially towards the later stages of the third phase. I think West Mifflin's going to bode much better on King's Row than we see from Eli Whitney, but by no means is Eli Whitney out, especially in the second phase as well. We saw signs of life from them. We saw them with their own very good game sense to keep themselves involved in fights while not over-aggressing and making sure they measure that aggression to give themselves the best chance later on. Unfortunately, they were just outmatched in the 5v5.
Unfortunately, and you're going to probably end up seeing some Reinhardt play on King's Row as, well, it's that old style composition. It's the Overwatch 1 home of Rush. And, well, King's Row, not much different than Overwatch 2. You're talking the Reinhardt composition. You're talking about trying to push through and just hit that W key as much as possible and play into the intense burst damage that you can get out of a Reinhardt at close range.
Close range fights for King's Row, always a difficult notion for teams. West Mifflin at this point, I think, wanted to keep their distance, especially there. Barring the Tracer, they were very healthy in those long-range engagements. Whereas on the other side, Eli Whitney were more than happy, especially with a Reaper and Junkrat combination. They wanted to be up in your face and making sure you had to fight for it. I think that's going to continue here. Wavy Patty's going to pick up that Tracer, and Eli Whitney, with their choice, will start on the defensive side. But the Cassidy on the board, that indicates they want to keep their healthy distance while still being able to do enough damage close range should it be required.
Completely agree with you there, as Tsunami is it's an interesting pick going on to the Wrecking Ball. When you see the Wrecking Ball, you tend to think of that dive composition, and I don't really see that reflected in the Cassie pick, mainly, but it could just be that choice, a bit of comfort pick, or there could be a bit of a plan as you've got some heroes right around the corner.
Wavy Patty playing hide and seek. Tsunami trying to do the same. The problem is they've now been dove. Their position more than known. They'll try and jump across. They will do so. But look, all the information there. Tsunami will re-shield themselves up. But a great anti. The Bionade lands. That should be a kill onto them. It is indeed. Wavy Patty, however, hunts down Mark the Pot. A 2-for-1 trade overall. But the VIP, that tank has been taken care of. Jade Moon just the same. A follow-up on Hubuto. And that's first fight already done. No way to say in this one. Jaden will add an impactful and, dare I say, explosive end of the fight as the Dynamite will take out half.
That was just good map awareness for West Mifflin, able to find both of the Eli Whitney members hiding out on the side. Thankfully, though, that was a pretty clean fight for Eli Whitney, so they're going to be able to try and hold in this archway, which can be pretty scary for an offensive team.
Mr. Eerie trying to play the bingo card of how many impacts, or how much impact can I have with a Bionade up against Tsunami? No matter really what hero they're playing, it's always an important conversation. Overwatch Gun hunting down Wavy Patty, no extra blips for them, so they'll be dropped out of contention. A follow-up maybe here onto Tsunami. They need to drop back to that Mega Health Pack, but they won't in time. Incoming strike from above as well. It's a 3, now 4K for Overwatch Gun. That's it. That's the fight. Streets phase is almost halfway done already, and it's been 30 seconds.
That is really good Doomfist play by Overwatch Gun. There's no other way around it. That was scary. I would be quaking in my boots if I saw that in my ranked games, and it was the ability usage, and it was knowing exactly when to be aggressive. We talked about this coming into the map, and you saw it there. Overwatch Gun knew they had the support, they had the backup, and they had exactly what you need. Okay, you know, they hold the other corner. It's fine. Or they don't.
Yeah, Tsunami already dead. Playing a game of Mystery Heroes, has not stayed on one hero for longer than one death. has gone from the ball onto the Diva, now to the Orisa, and we'll stick with the Orisa actually into third phase. This may very well be one of the quickest finishes of King's Row we've seen in the EGFH. Tsunami again getting aggressive. All cooldowns available, other than of course the ultimate on the board, but they need to make sure they don't get over aggressive. Jaden can play with Bob and possibly use that new addition of Bob focusing down Ashe targeted targets to help them impact this fight.
You know what they say for Tsunami, from the Diva to the ball to the robotic horse, that's all, and that's a really good nano onto Tsunami there, but wow, okay.
It's just not enough. That'll do it. That's first and second and third phase all done. For all of you curious as to how much time you get on the attack, you start with 4 minutes, you get an extra 2.5 after completing first phase, and an extra 1.5 after completing third. Again, for all of you mathematicians out there, that's 7 minutes total. Quick subtraction will tell you that West Mifflin finished King's Row in 2 minutes and 11 seconds. Okay.
Wait, what?
Yeah. They
2.5 minutes and 2.5 minutes plus 1.5 minutes plus 4. That's 8, right?
Okay, so 3 minutes and 10 seconds.
Having
Right. I can't do math.
Okay?
This is why casters shouldn't do math on stream.
No math. Don't do math. You'll just look silly.
Embarrass yourself like I just did?
I was trying to avoid saying embarrass yourself, but speaking of some addition, what do you get when you add a 4-minute, almost 5-minute time bank and being on the defensive for West Mifflin? That's right, you get whatever the exact opposite of having your back against the wall is. West Mifflin have almost no pressure on them to full hold, to hold at the archway. They can do pretty much whatever they want, and as long as they don't like get steamrolled, they'll guaranteed have a bigger time bank because they have 5 minutes on the time bank. That's massive.
What an accretion. Overwatch gun actually gets caught, is now on fire, and not in the fun way. Eli Whitney, target prioritization is there. The problem is, can they get in safely? The answer, apparently not really. Good Suzu will keep them in this fight, but again, these power punches after shooting out that block will cost you more often than it won't. And West Mifflin are more than happy to keep a healthy distance. Wavy Patty on towards that Ashe, trying to match Jaden. The problem is, they're just not doing enough damage back, and West Mifflin are holding for significantly longer. Well, they're holding period here on first point. Mark the Pot still pressuring forward. Will just absolutely barrel stuff most of Eli Whitney and be more than happy to take most of these fights, even against what is a very close range favored Reaper, and they'll win it no less.
I really love exactly the positioning West Mifflin, that what the Titans are taking here. They're having Jaden take that angle on the right side of the statue, and then they're having the rest of their team push through and try and just force Eli Whitney back out right into the sights of Jaden. And it's just put them right between a rock and a hard place. It's put them exactly where they want with forcing really good positioning. It is that pincer move that you see a lot of the time, and it worked out to perfection. It worked out really well since Overwatch Gun is incredibly good at this Doomfist and already charged up the ultimate, but you've got the beat for Jade Moon. Eli Whitney, this is potentially your fight.
Oh, but from behind, Jade Moon's taken out. 1-for-1 trade is there. Good cleanse will keep them alive for the time being. And a follow-up is there on the Space Jesus and Mr. Eerie. No supports left over. Kitsune Rush now on the board. This may very well be West Mifflin's opportunity if they can drop out Overwatch Gun quickly enough. If they take too long, then it will be a held fight. But fortunately, they are able to drop off the Titans. Only for the time being, and most likely at least able to capture first point.
And this is what we've been talking about with knowing exactly when, even when the odds seem against you, that you can win that fight. I thought the investment of the Kitsune Rush from Kabuto, I thought that was a big mistake, but it was me with egg on my face, and Eli Whitney take that second point. or take that first point, pardon. And even despite Jade Moon getting taken out before that beat landed, it's really, hi Doomfist.
From behind, Tsunami uses one bubble. I don't even know if they have a second. Luckily, there is a protection Suzu on the board. Baby Patty, they got canceled! No! It does go out. I thought Bob got Ajax. That would have been the epitome of this series. Graviton Surge used. 2 for 1 now as the Death Blossom's dedicated just the same. But West Mifflin back out, and most importantly, Jaden finds one from behind. Mark the Pot a follow-up. This fight is far from over. Even with the inclusion of a Death Blossom and Graviton Surge, West Mifflin may very well walk away with a fight victory, and they do.
But even in spite of that, they have to pull back slightly as these spawns from Eli Whitney are going to be so close. But they do have the ultimate. They do have the tactical visor, but the Titans will not be far behind.
2 minutes and 45 seconds on the clock, so more than enough time to have 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6 fights if you're on the Eli Whitney side. There's one of them off the board, and there's the Doomfist banking from behind again. Luckily, not all that much damage done, but a 1-for-1 trade overall. Visor from up above actually finds 2, and the Seismic Slam onto half makes it a 3rd. Tsunami will be finished off, courtesy of Overwatch Gun. Jaden with the assist, and West Mifflin with another fight.
It's really tough for Eli Whitney when you have Jaden just on that high ground, shooting from long range, just trying to get anything going with it. You don't have a lot of range to try and take them down. Now White Team are caught. Overwatch Gun is right behind. Is still behind them. This flank is just massive. Oh no.
Baby Patty gets one punched. Talk about a superhero play. One Punch Man has made an appearance. Talk about one fight man as a team kill comes through. Eli Whitney evaporate in 6 seconds time, and West Mifflin have cut the time bank down to 90 seconds.
And this is just how brutal that 5 minutes time bank is for West Mifflin. Eli Whitney, if they want even a comparable time bank, well, they can't have a bigger time bank, but if they want even a similar time bank, okay.
Overwatch Gun dying's probably a pretty good start for them. No expert here, but it should assist. Kitsune Rush used, Hibuto drops Space Jesus, and Mr. Eerie taken care of as well. Final fight in the second phase is upon us. Mark the Pot behind with a Pulse Bomb. I think they've been seen though. Wavy Patty, aware of their position, even gets help with a bubble. The problem is this flank from the DPS of West Mifflin may not work.
It may not, but Overwatch Gun is there to stall out of that card for a little bit, and late pick onto Jaden means that really you're looking at a staggered fight coming in, but Overwatch Gun is pretty confident, and beat coming out early is good.
The really early beat, though, not quick enough. Half has the Death Blossom, so fight-winning possibilities here for Eli Whitney, and they may very well have to come through. Half has to press Q, and it's the final 20 seconds. They're running out of time to do so, and they've run out of health. 15 seconds, it's final fight if they can even touch.
Unless Jade Moon hits a legendary rollout and is able to... No, they're not even going to... They can't even try and touch. There's not enough time. The soldier's going to try and run towards it, but it's not it. It's West Mifflin, the Titans, with a dominant performance on King's Row. There's no way to overstate that. That was a 5-minute time bank for the Titans. 5 minutes on King's Row. I have seen some quick runs for King's Row. That might just be the fastest I've seen that happen in an official game.
I want to know the lowest amount of time it could take to finish King's Row, because that's gotta be up there if they're looking that good. Fun statistic for you if you're at all curious. Tsunami has now played over half of the tank heroes in Overwatch 2. They've reached 6 at this point. In order, they have played Winston, Wrecking Ball, they brought out early another Wrecking Ball, switched across, they were on, what was it? Zarya, Sigma, and Orisa. All 6, I believe. There could be an extra one in there. I may have counted Wrecking Ball twice. Anyway, Speaking of two, that's two maps done here for West Mifflin. They will take a 2-0 lead, look to finish a series 3-0, just as they have last week when we come back from the break. Push is upon us. Welcome to Rome, the Colosseo, or Colosseum for all of you from real life. West Mifflin with a 2-0 lead through 2 maps of play. Eli Whitney needing a reverse sweep and needing to start it fairly soon. With 10 minutes on the clock, they have to push TS1 to the checkpoint, or just further than West Mifflin does over these next 10 minutes. I'm Time to Light, still joined alongside me is K-Wing, and what needs to happen here for Eli Whitney? Because it seems like a miracle, but they've been pretty included in a lot of these fights.
They really have, and for Eli Whitney, it's going to be tough because you're coming into a pretty similar rush composition. You need to play the strength of the Reinhardt in that Junker Queen matchup. You should have the advantage, but you need to not get caught out like that.
Seen more heroes now as we've reached 8 of 11 of the tanks in the game played. The problem is when you're taking on a close-range Junker Queen, a Reaper to assist, and Mark the Pot on Widowmaker from long range, that's 3 disadvantages, none of which you really had answers for. I did like that Tracer back on King's Row to deal with Mark the Pot on the Widow. We haven't seen the switch yet here, though.
No, we have not, and we will not, it seems. There is the commanding shout from Overwatch Gun.
Hello.
Wow. There's a headshot, and Wavy Patty's trying to take them down, but it's going to be really tough.
Helix Rocket's better close range to take out that Widow, such low HP to deal with. Tsunami needing to play spin the bottle with their shield just to stay alive, and they're lucky enough to do so. Wavy Patty, another kill, this time onto Space Jesus. Again, the support line for West Mifflin is taken care of, but by no means are they fully out of this fight. Now, maybe they are with Overwatch Gun falling.
That's the thing. People think when you take out the support line of a team that they are just completely gone and out of it. And that is mostly usually true, but you also have to think they still have all their damage. If they can close out the fight really quickly and make some decisive picks, they can absolutely still win that fight if they're just looking for a quick cleanup. Oh, that was a lot of headshots from Mark the Pot.
Mark decides better the Widow, and instead goes on to the Sojourn, trying to do as much as they can with it. Tsunami, looking for the pin, will find it and find Space Jesus. The problem is, the rest of their team is evaporating around them. Rampage used, the decay effect setting in, and Tsunami, not long for this world, will easily be taken care of. A melee onto Wavy Patty, and the fight back for West Mifflin.
Really good offensive work there from West Mifflin, but one has to wonder if it's an overcommitment. Piece of trash using that Death Blossom was an interesting choice as the bot starts to push the barricade. It didn't find any picks directly off it. It did pump in the damage, but you're wondering if they, coming into how many ults Eli Whitney has, you're kind of wondering if they want that back.
Well, they would have, assuming Habuto survived past the first 9 seconds of the fight. Mark the Pot uses that railgun and drops him out of contention. Even with 130 damage done by that sticky grenade, it does not do enough to drop down Mark the Pot. The overclock used, and the fight again won here for West Mifflin.
West Mifflin really have to hope that they can get to that checkpoint, get those forward spawns unlocked, and they will. Even if Eli Whitney has an overwhelming amount of ultimates, and they do 4 ults to West Mifflin's 1, this Transcendence either needs to be incredibly massive, or they need a hero play, and it might not happen.
Well, with Mr. Eerie gone and the anti-effect on top of Overwatch Gun, it has to be the Transcendence, and that's what they decide to use. They also bring in this visor, but it doesn't do as much as they would have liked, especially with a triple there. Mark the Pot a double of their own, just with the disruptor shot. Habuto barely alive, but Wavy Patty somehow does enough damage and drops Space Jesus. Forward spawns will significantly favor West Mifflin, though.
Especially with the swap onto the Reinhardt, it's going to be tough to try and face that with Tsunami on the Sigma. Just trying to complete the bingo card, it seems, has already... you're just going to have that Reinhardt run over the Sigma, and you're already seeing it, especially with the Reaper.
The the Pot trying to flank with this Soldier, not finding as much as I think they would have liked. Space Jesus taken out. That's a lot of damage done. The pin misses. A good Suzu to keep them in this fight as well here for Eli Whitney. Wes Mifflin down a player, but still very much involved in this fight, just keeping this Eli Whitney side at arm's length. The problem is they're over-aggressing. Overwatch gun so low. Very lucky to be alive at this point. Mr. Eerie is no longer, but there's an immediate trade back the other way. The problem is not worried about half will cost you your life. Good stun, but even better Wraith out there for piece of trash.
That is the weakness of this healing composition from the Titans, is that it doesn't have that high healing or even a lot of that defensive utility that you would get from the anti-nade or the protection Suzu from what the Owls are running on their side. And there's the highest noon.
It finds thin air. Maybe damage, that's about it. It does create enough space here for Eli Whitney. The problem is they're winning a lot of these fights, but they're not actually collapsing on top of it. Fire strike into a railgun shot. Half is evaporated in thin air. Wavy Patty very lucky that wasn't a headshot. So is Hubuto, but Hubuto followed up upon, and that should be the fight. Mark the Pot close range will drop Wavy Patty out of contention, and Wes Mifflin are back.
And they're going to be pushing that barricade. It's going to activate those close spawns. And now you're a bit closer in terms of your ult economy. But the Owl's still looking better for it. They've got 3 ultimates, including that Nano Visor combo. Piece of Trash is probably going to try and look for an early Death Blossom over on that right side trying to flank, but they are immediately spotted. They need to get that early ult, or they might be just shut down.
Wavy Patty, Helix Rocket just barely misses. Maybe would have killed Overwatch gun. They have an amazing sleep, land onto Piece of Trash. That almost certainly would have found 3. Luckily for them, it finds absolutely nothing, and Piece of Trash is dropped out of contention. Kitsune Rush used. This is maybe the final fight here for Eli Whitney if they want to have a chance at winning out this map. Wavy Patty playing inside of it, and with half support will drop out Space Jesus and Mr. Eerie. Overwatch gun followed up on, and Eli Whitney win again.
Crucially, Space Jesus pops that Transcendence, and that is a really big defensive ultimate. It's the only defensive ultimate that you had. Now switching on to the Kiriko, a good choice to get some more healing per second, but you're going into a Nano Visor combo potentially coming through. You're going to have to deal with that in some way. Who knows how at this point. The Titans going to be walking into a big ultimate, or you can just do that. Okay.
Yeah, Piece of Trash could just drop him down. I think it's, again, combined abilities. Fire Strike onto half. They're trying to hunt him down. They just don't have the continuous damage nor speed to do so. Suzu will keep them alive for the time being. Shadow around the corner, but it misses. Unfortunate timing there for Overwatch gun, who again is not able to do enough with it. They do still drop down half, but not enough. How in the world does half get out alive? Visor from up above now. Space Jesus taken care of. Looking for more, but good measurement of aggression. Overwatch gun's shield falls as soon as half finds a skull, and they'll find a kill off the back of it as well.
That's exactly what Eli Whitney needs. They need to start turning this around. They need that bot to start pushing the barricade. Otherwise, it could just be the end of it. A big ending pick onto Mr. Eerie, but they need to win a lot of fights in a row, and it needs to start with a really effective Nano, and winning the fight off that Nano, rolling that into the Kitsune Rush, the Gravitic Flux, and their DPS ultimates. Otherwise, they're going to get put a stop to by some overwhelming ultimates coming out from Wes Mifflin in this coming fight or the next fight. Whatever happens, they need some ults now, the Owls.
Eli Whitney, 3 fights minimum to win this map, if not more. Mark the Pot from behind. Here's the high noon. It doesn't land, though. It does enough damage, so half can be finished off. A Nano on top of Tsunami to possibly save this one, but it just is not enough. Target prioritization more than there. And it seems like Space Jesus is one with martial arts, as a kick to the face of Tsunami will send Wes Mifflin even further forward.
Have you ever had such a Tsunami onto the Ramatra as well? What heroes are we missing?
10. That's 10. It's only Roadhog.
It's only Roadhog. Tsunami, go the Roadhog for the memes. Go the Roadhog for the memes. But in all seriousness, what Eli Whitney has the ability to potentially start rolling out, but they need to do it in this fight, and that chat is not a good way to start.
Goodness. Good Suzu's there. Here's the visor, trying to find as much as they can on the West Mifflin side. Piece of Trash is the only one to fall, but that's just not enough for Eli Whitney. Even taking care of that visor is just not enough damage. The switch onto the ball, Tsunami will make their 6th switch of the game, but it may not be enough. Nano does not come through. Hubuto is taken care of. Transcendence is there. This should be the map, much less the series. Tsunami is evaporated. Wavy Patty trying to have whatever they can with this tactical visor, but again, not enough damage. Half is the only one that stands between them and completing Coliseo, and there's just not enough. West Mifflin will complete Coliseo and sweep the series.
And it's off the back of some really great tank play coming out from the Titans. And, I mean, just...
That's a new one.
Yeah, I think that's a new highlight intro. I didn't know that was a highlight intro, but it's just off the back of some really smart tank play from Overwatch Gun, playing both the Reinhardt, the Doomfist, just showing us exactly why they are as dominant as they are, and why West Mifflin are such a solid pick for second place, as they're now in second place in the standings pretty solidly at this point, and they're looking to potentially take first if that first place team's not careful.
She and Titans need to be careful. We saw 10 of 11 tank heroes in this series. For all of you curious who they were, Junker Queen, Diva, Doomfist, Reinhardt, Wrecking Ball, Sigma, Zarya, Orisa, Winston, and Ramatra to close out Coliseo. The only one left out, unfortunately, is a Roadhog. The pig gets no love to close out the series. Eli Whitney do just that, close out the series in a 3-0 fashion. We're either going to come back with an interview or our final series of the day when we come back from the break.